Welcome in to Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside John Epps. We got Darrell Hendricks running the board as well tonight. John, we're here for our Upper State and Lower State Championship preview show. 10 games this week, John. They're all big. Every team is good, man. I'm just kind of hoping now that we get good weather on Friday night.
Yeah, it's a little bit questionable, but you know what? That's okay. That's all right. You know, these teams are good. They can play through a little bit of weather.
For sure, for sure. Everybody who's playing now, congrats to you guys. Getting to practice on Thanksgiving, go get a little feast afterwards. The grass is brown if you got a real grass field out there. It's the best time of the year. You worked hard to get to this point, so congrats to you guys. If you guys tune in for the first time, we really appreciate you. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter /X, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains, MOVINCHAINS. Our website, movinchains.com. Podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. We do a weekly preview show here live on Tuesday nights about 7 o'clock on Facebook and YouTube. We preview the following week's games. Love to have you guys hop in here and give your thoughts. Weekly recap show comes out on Sundays. Podcast-only platforms for that one. Break down that previous week's games. We do our Friday night spaces on Twitter /X. We run through the scores from all across the state. We have different folks pop in who were at those ball games. A lot of really good stuff there as well. And then also, get your MTC merch right now. We got Richardson hats. We got toboggans and beanies, gray, black, all different colors, all different hats. We got hoodies as well. Some really good stuff. The cold weather is here. These hoodies feel amazing. I wear one about the past 3 or 4 games. They're really good stuff. Super comfortable. The holidays are coming up, John. You know, get your special someone, some Moving the Chains merch. They would love that for Christmas. I know they would. But if you got any questions, check them out on our social pages. We got different pictures on our social pages. Our email here, mtcgear.sc@gmail.com for any questions you may have. Love to have you support us, help us go to more games, get better equipment, things like that. But should be a lot of fun, John. I know you've been wearing your hat and your hoodie a lot lately, man. It's good stuff, isn't it?
I love that hoodie. It feels pretty light, but it's really warm. It's real fuzzy inside. It's great. Fits great. And the hats are awesome.
Really, really good stuff. Let's start. Obviously, every game in the state is massive this week, John. I mean, they are. They all could be calling the games of the week. But let's start with a couple that we've really got marked, really got our eye on. Our CONA games of the week brought to you by Carolina Orthopedic Neurosurgical Associates, CONA.care for more info. Let's start in 5A. Lower State 5A, that is. 2 undefeated squads, 2 13-0 teams. Summerville, the Green Wave, traveling to White Knoll, taking on Coach Pelham's Timberwolves squad. 2 teams that have been really rolling all year long, John, not really even being tested a whole lot. You know, Summerville last week, 63-35 over Carolina Forest. They're averaging 48 on offense, 20 on defense. White Knoll, 35-7 over Sumter, averaging 38 on offense, 7 on defense. 2 high-powered offenses, 2 defenses that fly around, John. A heavyweight matchup here for sure. Who do you like in this 5A Lower State game?
You know, I thought about this for a while yesterday. I was going through making my picks, and I was thinking, who am I going to pick here? And it seems odd because we have had Summerville number 1 in our poll, I think, the entire year. I don't think at any point we've had Summerville anywhere but number 1. I think unanimously, I think we've had them number 1. And I feel like they've earned that spot the entire season. It's rightfully earned. But this White Knoll team, we got to see them play at home against Fort Dorchester a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago now. I was blown away. I was blown away by their size, their discipline, and the way that they execute. And they play with a little chip on their shoulder. You know, that's a Fort Dorchester team that we saw that had that name carries a lot of weight. That they are a very proven, very good program. Nothing about that's different this year. They're still very good, very talented. And White Knoll they rubbed their nose in it. I'm early.
Yeah.
Early. I was very impressed with the size. Really, it was the size of White Knoll. They look big in warm-ups. That 22 on defense is that guy's a monster. I was impressed with their size, but they're not slow either.
Yeah.
They're very, very fast for being a big team. And this defense has been good all year. It's not like, boy, they just caught fire. It's been good all year. And in the playoffs, it has been especially good. They haven't had a game in the playoffs yet where they've given up more than 7 points.
Yeah.
The Summerville team has got more firepower than any team they've played all year.
Mm-hmm.
That could be said for any team that's played Summerville, probably. I think White Knoll is just playing better football right now. I think White Knoll is just, I think, not to say they've got the hot hand, but I think they're playing better football right now. They get to play this game at home as well. They say defense travels, defense wins championships. I like White Knoll because of their defense in this game.
I think I said it on our spaces on Friday night. That half that we saw White Knoll first half against Fort Dorchester, most impressive half I've seen in quite some time. They thoroughly dominated that Fort Dorchester team that night. Summerville led on offense by Jaden Cummings, a quarterback, a really good player for them there. Running back Trey Green, kind of forgotten about sometimes, John, went for 260 plus last week, that big win over Carolina Forest. Everybody knows receiver Yannick Smith, ECU commit, had I think a couple of touchdowns last week, gets it done kind of out of the Wildcat and obviously catching passes as well. Throwing a few touchdowns here and there. Also, it seems like Quintrell Pettiford's a weapon for them. Defensively, Rilo Mitchell, Jaden Kelly Murray, Raynard Middleton as well. Coach Rafferty does a fantastic job with that program, getting them back to where Summerville's supposed to be, I would say. A team that's supposed to make it third rounds, upper or lower state title games each and every year. He's gotten them back to that point. White Knoll, quarterback Landon Sharp, one of my favorite players in the state. 2 touchdowns last week and get it done. Running the ball and passing the ball. Sean Evans, a big game rushing last week. You know about Tion Fanning, the freshman. He's an explosive player for them. Receiver, CJ Earl, Austin Cunningham are great players. Defensively, a couple names, Jaden Kimball, Domenico Banks, Lincoln Ayunga, Dominic as well. Guys that fly around. That line really, really impressed with what we saw up front from those guys. But Summerville, it feels like they've almost just got like a max prep. Sorry, guys. Summerville's got like a switch they can just flip sometimes. That Carolina Forest game, they're up 28-14. Carolina Forest comes back, ties it up 28-all. Next thing we know, Summerville's up 60-something to 35. Like they just turn it all of a sudden. Offense just takes it off, lights out. I think that goes to Coach Rafferty. They do a great job coaching offense there. A lot of different formations, a lot of shifts, very advanced what they do offensively. But, John, I think you said it, man. Playing White Knoll, the way they're playing on both sides of the ball, and they're at home, I like both offenses. I think Summerville's offense is probably a little more explosive than for White Knoll's, but I love that Timberwolves defense. I think White Knoll wins this game at home in a close one on Friday.
Yeah, I saw the comment, hey, Fort Dorchester wasn't very good. I'm not going to disagree with that. I think, they're not as good as a typical Fort Dorchester team. When Fort Dorchester played Summerville, it was 21-14 at the half. It was a ball game. There was 5 minutes left in the first quarter in Lexington, at the bank, they call it. That game was over. It was over.
Yeah.
It was different. It wasn't, man, White Knoll caught them and they beat them. They blew them out from the kickoff.
Yeah.
That was one of the most uncompetitive football games I've seen in a long, long time, college or high school. That was not it seemed like it wasn't fair.
Yeah.
The way that game went. So I don't disagree with that comment. White Knoll destroyed them.
Yeah.
It's different to me.
This should be a very, very clean ball game. 2 very disciplined teams, 2 very well coached teams. I think it's going to be a heck of a ball game. Very tight. I just like White Knoll by a little bit here. What Coach Pelham done is fantastic there. Coach Rafferty as well. Be a great ball game over at the bank, but I like White Knoll in a close one here. Guys, Drill, any comments on that ball game from the chat or from yourself as well?
Yeah. We definitely got a lot of comments here, but we'll throw them up here. I'm going to go in order to keep it easy.
Terrence, good seeing you. Hampton County in the house. Kevron, appreciate you being here, buddy.
Kevron.
Got Tyler in here as well.
Tyler, thank you for being here, man. Appreciate you as always. Bradley, good to see you, buddy. Only a couple weeks left, man. Crazy to think we're at this point already. At Big Abbeville, Greg, be a big game this week. Dion says, strong thermal season over. Yep, tough one for those guys. Corinthian, appreciate you being in here. White Knoll by 11, says Dion. Bradley says Summerville. Justin, some great matchups for sure. Yeah, going to be a great week of football here around the Palmetto State. No doubt about it. Tank says White Knoll got the better D, likes White Knoll. That's where I'm leaning to, man. I think it's going to be a close game, but should be I think, hopefully in the Timberwolves' favor as far as my picks go, I guess. Sean throwing in the bill. Appreciate you, Bulldog, man. Zach, good to see you, buddy.
Hey, Zach.
Appreciate you being in here. Marquise, low scoring, especially be the key. I like that.
I think so, too.
I like that. And we saw in that ball game, White Knoll got some good pressure on the Fort Dorchester punt team. So White Knoll can maybe get a block, something like that. Mitchell, good seeing you here. Mitchell, as always. John, appreciate you being in here. Richard, it should be a good game. Yeah, White Knoll. This is, I mean, you get 2 13-0 teams, John. Yeah, I mean, it could go either way. Brian, yeah, we'll get to the Irmo game here in a little bit for sure.
White Knoll might be the only team in the state that I would pick against Summerville.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you guys have some good points as far as like White Knoll. I'm just going to uncloud my judgment when it comes to making the pick in this game. Summerville has been, the number one team throughout the duration of the year. Like Kevin said, they flipped the switch every single game, it seems like. And I feel like that White Knoll game is just so recent in our memory that maybe like that's why we're definitely leaning that way. I think Summerville is going to be able to flip the switch again. I think they've been the best team in 5A throughout this entire year. I think Summerville is actually going to win this game on Friday night.
Well, and I said it, I think when we were going to the game Friday, I was like, man, I kind of want to pick Carolina Forest tonight. And sure glad I didn't, man. That was a really impressive win. I mean, because the Carolina Forest team that played them to a score, back in week 1. Summerville was on the road in that matchup, and that Green Wave squad, I mean, just really turned it on second half. So certainly they've got the firepower to do it. Yep, Andy says Summerville as well as his pick there.
And that was another game, wasn't it about 28-21 Summerville at one point? Maybe at the half or early third quarter?
Yeah, 28 off.
Yeah.
Carolina Forest Summerville was at one point. Yep.
Yeah, and then they reeled off. Well, then they outscored them 35-7 after that.
Yeah. They have another gear. Like we talked about on the recap show, running back got into the fray last week. Had a huge game, almost going for 300 yards in the game. We talk about Yannick Smith and quarterback Jaden Cummings there a lot, but they got the running game going. That Summerville offense, I think they've just been so explosive this year. It's going to carry them even against a very, very tough White Knoll team. It's
a lot to defend.
Yeah, and two teams as well that can you guys remember? I know Summerville won at least 1 or 2 games in the playoffs last year. I know they didn't get to the lower state final. I don't believe, but I know White Knoll has not been to this point. It's this new territory for those guys. Lost in round 1 last year. I think they're only 3 years removed from a winless season, I believe, before Coach Pelham got there. So it's some new territory for those guys for sure. And Summerville, another team that really hasn't been in this position, in quite a while as well. So don't want to say that, nerves may play a part, but I mean, I think even if you played in this game 4 years in a row, nerves can play a part at this point because it's just margin of error can be so slim, it feels like.
And I thought nerves were going to play a part in that Fort Dorchester game.
Yeah.
Because of that reason, not a factor.
Yep.
Not at all. Let's go to the next one, guys.
At all. Okay. Perfect. Let's look now at our second CONA game of the week. A 3A matchup here. 2 more undefeated teams, guys. That's Belton-Honea Path, 13-0, traveling to Daniel, taking on the Lions, who are also 13-0. BHP last week, 27-24 over Clinton. Daniel, 49-20 over Chester. BHP averaging 50 on offense, 19 on defense. Marquise Henderson was healthy. He played last week, got a full workload, went 31 carries for $168 and 2 touchdowns. On the season now has 2,000-plus yards and 36 TDs, a BHP single-season rushing record for him. Quarterback Noah Thomas didn't have the best game, but usually they don't ask him to do a whole lot. Hadn't really had a situation where he had to make a lot of big throws. So we'll see what that happens if that happens this week. Wide receivers Alexander and Paul. Defensively, Anderson, Burns, Kelly, Lathan as well. Daniel, 49 on offense, 11 on defense. Quarterback Colton Chapman, 18 for 24. 2 touchdowns last week. Jakari Bennett, 20 for 104 on the ground, 2 touchdowns. Torrey Shaw, 10 for 74, 2 more touchdowns. Wide receivers Nixon, Chancellor. Offensive line led by the Shrine Bowler and Mr. Football finalist Watson Young. Defensively, Ty Plumley, Ben Joplin, Spencer Conn, Jackson Howland, those guys. 2 teams that have been just rolling all year long. BHP hasn't played a lot of close ball games. Got to remember, they beat that Westside team that's in the 4A Upper State Final earlier in the year. They played Clinton to 3 points. Clinton's a very good football team. Outside of that, a lot of blowouts for them. Daniel, their closest game all year, 35-21 over Wren, a 14-pointer, I think 2 rounds ago now. This is a game where it just feels like Daniel is, they're so good, John. They're so good every year. Don't know a ton about them because they don't play the toughest region schedule. Not their fault, of course, but BHP, we know the names with Henderson, what they're doing there. Who do you like in this matchup here in 3A Upper State?
I think a couple weeks ago I said BHP, but with the playoffs and the way the playoffs have progressed, I'm leaning Daniel. I think Daniel I think we get a little bit jaded with Daniel because we know, okay, they don't play in the best region, and typically their out of region schedule is not the most dynamic. But then I feel like when we get into the playoffs, I talked about that Ren game. I thought that Ren game was going to be one that I was putting a star by, and it went about the way I thought. It was a 2-score game, somewhat low scoring for Daniel and scoring 35. But the Chester team, they won 49-20 over the Cyclones, and we go, oh, ho-hum.
Yeah.
Chester blew out Chapman.
Yeah, I don't think it was that close as the score was, honestly, either, that Chester Daniel game. Really.
And I think Chester played out of their sweet spot in that game. But I don't know that. I think we get jaded to Daniel blowing people out and go, well, Chapman, maybe they're not, or Chester, maybe they're not that good. I don't know. I think Daniel was just very, very good. And we talk about flipping that switch. They do that.
Yeah.
Their schedule does not dictate how good they are.
Yeah.
They are. I know Clemson would make the argument a lot with the ACC going, hey, our schedule. We're still a really good team.
Yeah.
I think the same can be said for Daniel. Ironic, right? Daniel's just really, really good. And what scares me, what I think makes the difference in this ball game, when we talk about Daniel, it's not one thing about the Lions. It's not their defense is carrying them, or their quarterback is carrying them, their running game. They've got it all. They play good defense. Maybe not the best defense in the state, but very good defensively.
They're good.
They have good quarterback play. They're well coached. They play clean. They don't beat themselves. They don't make a ton of penalties. They don't turn the ball over. They run the ball pretty well. They play well on the lines. They've got good talent, good weapons on the outside, good playmakers. We talk about BHP. We always talk about Henderson.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. He's arguably having the best season in the state. I know that's very arguable. There's a lot of guys that can make that claim this year. But we talk about Henderson. The defense is good. It's not great. And I think that's going to be the difference maker in this ball game. I don't know that BHP is versatile enough in the passing game, because I think they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit in this ball game to win. And I don't know if they have enough in the passing game to keep up with Daniel. That's my worry with BHP in this game. I see this being a really, really close ball game, by the way. But I like Daniel. I just think they're a little bit more well-rounded and maybe a little bit better as a team. Similar to what we saw last Friday with Gray and Strom Thurmond. I think the best player on the field is at BHP. Like, I think last Friday, the best players on the field were probably on Strom Thurmond. But just as a collective, the 22 guys you got on the football field, I think they're a little bit better for the Lions.
BHP, obviously, they want to run the ball with Henderson and then, Lathan or Dobbs, whoever else is healthy and playing for those guys. Daniel's been pretty good against the run all year, and they've had a great two tune-ups, playing Wren, who wants to run it all the time, and then Chester, who wants to run it a ton as well. They've done a pretty good job of stopping both of teams the last 2 weeks. And I think you said it on nail on the head there, John. BHP is going to have to make some throws. Quarterback Noah Thomas has got to come up big. I mean, Henderson's going to get his. He's probably going to have 150 or whatever, a couple touchdowns maybe. But they're going to have something to kind of give him some space. You got to have a quarterback make a play here and there. And I don't know, just because he hasn't done it a lot. I think you have to lean Daniel here. I do have another stat. Daniel, undefeated at home since 2019.
That's incredible.
But that last home loss, BHP beat them.
Okay.
So we'll see. Can they end the streak there? The Bears. I don't know. I honestly, Kane's probably gonna put me on the TV, make a clip of me after this year. I think Daniel wins this game. I think they might win by 14 points or so.
And the question is, I say they have to throw. Maybe they don't. If Henderson breaks off 250, scores 4 touchdowns, maybe they don't. I just think they've got to. You can't rely on him 100%.
Yeah.
Just because I just don't think you can count. I think BHP's got to score. I think they got to score 40 points, 35, 40 points to win the game. And I just don't know if they can do that just relying on Henderson.
Yeah.
And maybe they do. Maybe they do.
At this point in the playoffs, almost hard to be one-dimensional at this point because everybody is so good on both sides of the ball. You got to have a little bit of a passing game. I'm just worried about that for BHP. I'm leaning Daniel. Drill, any comments on that ball game from yourself or from the chat here?
Yeah, this one's tough because I've had BHP as the number one team in 3A all year, and it's hard to go against that. Like you said, it's not just Henderson. I mean, you got Robs and Latham have done a really good job, running the ball for them, and they've been one-dimensional because they haven't had to do anything else. They have literally steamrolled just about everybody they've played. So that's where you see. I mean, there were multiple games this year where Marquise Henderson only carried the ball 5 or 6 times in the game.
Yeah.
But at this point in the season, I mean, with Daniel being Daniel, their reputation speaks for itself. The game is at Daniel. They know what BHP wants to do. Like you said, they haven't lost at home since 2019. I mean, I can't pick against them. I think Daniel's going to win this game. I don't know if it's going to be close or be a blowout. There's a lot of different opinions in the chat right now. But I think the Lions are just too much, even though I've had BHP as the number one team all year. It just scares me, that experience for Daniel's just going to be a little bit too much. And I think that's the difference in the ball game.
Yeah, really, I put myself in a box here. I think on our preview show for the whole season, I think I picked BHP to win the upper state back then.
Yeah.
I've got them to this point, and it's right there for me to take them, and I just can't do it. I feel like I got to take Daniel. It's tough, man. The Lions they're special every year. That they're always going to be there. Dion says Daniel by 14. Hunter says Big Daniel 2 touchdowns. James says Daniel winning state. Greg says whoever wins this one's going to win it all. Certainly could. Tank says Daniel big, show up big in big games for sure.
Big
Andy says give
here.
me Daniel with the little Ric Flair reference. I love it.
Let's see. Got some BHP
Richard
love
says,
in
like,
here as well,
BHP
though.
is slept on. I think this year they've been – people know about them this year. They've been top 5, higher than that all year long. Landon says let's go BHP. Hunter says BHP one-dimensional, not going to work like well. Yeah, exactly what I think. If you got to be able to do both at this point, it feels like. Yep, great point there, Nathan, about the depth of BHP and Daniel. Chris, good question. I mean, probably back in the 4A days. I know when they lost to Ridgeview, I think Ridgeview scored 35 in the playoffs one time against them. 40, I don't know.
A couple years ago, I want to say Camden.
Love it, Travis. Eli said, Buford beat Powder Shot throwing a pass last. That's a great point, Eli. We were at that game. I still don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
And we're going to get to a game here in a second where we may see something similar to that. So that is certainly a good point.
Can be done. It certainly can be done.
For sure. Let's go to the next one, guys.
Yeah, let's talk about teams that don't want to throw passes here, John. And we got one of those teams in this ball game here. Camden at 10-3, traveling to Fort Knox, taking on Brookland-Cayce at 11-2. Big time 3A lower state matchup here. Camden is on a roll right now, John. 35-28 over Gilbert last week. 40 points on offense, 18 on defense on the season. Brookland-Cayce, 53-27 over Crestwood. 41 on offense, 19 on defense. John, I feel like I'm a broken record saying that every team is good at this point. Every team's playing good. But I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find a team that is playing as well and as dominant as the Brookland-Cayce Bearcats are at this point.
And what's been incredible, it started the final week of the regular season when they beat Gilbert to win the region. And I was like, wow, that's great. Okay, they played lights out in one game. You're probably not going to do that every week. And then they have won up themselves every single week. I didn't think they were going to beat Philip Simmons. They crushed the game. We left Red Bank at halftime. By the time we got to Casey, the game was over.
Yeah.
And then last week, they're not going to beat Crestwood. They don't have enough. They run the ball. They don't have enough offense to keep up with Crestwood. They scored 53. I mean, it's just what they have done last few weeks has just been nothing short of incredible.
Mm-hmm.
They are the hottest team in the state, the way they're playing football. Camden's not far behind them in that category. They've got 2 of the best back-to-back wins you can have, beating Dillon and then Gilbert. That's very impressive in their own right. I've gotten to the point now, and I hope I don't jinx them because I feel like that would be unfair. I can't pick against Brookland-Cayce. They're just playing. I'm using the mindset now of who's got the hot hand, who's playing better football right now. And it's Brookland-Cayce. If Crestwood was playing Camden, I'd pick Crestwood. That's how I feel about this. And they beat them up. They really beat up Crestwood, which was so surprising. They're playing with a ton of confidence. And I think that's something that we don't give enough credit to for teenagers. 14 to 18-year-olds. when you got confidence in yourself, confidence in the guy beside you, your teammates, your coaches, and you're playing at home, you got a great home crowd, home atmosphere. I mean, you got all that mixed together. That is really, really hard to beat. We talked to Coach Sharpie after the game. The guy is just bursting with energy.
Great character.
A guy that you would love to play for. And teams take on the personality of their head coach, right? You look at Camden, Coach Rim, big, tough, physical guy. How does Camden play? Big, tough, and physical. This is going to be an awesome, awesome matchup. There's just so much going Brookland-Cayce's way right now. And I'm going to go with BC because of how well they're playing offensively. And they just seem unstoppable right now. And I say that, I've come to the conclusion I can't predict anything after what happened last week, but I just have the feeling BC is it's meant to be for those guys this Friday.
Camden led by quarterback, D lineman, football player Grayson White, 17 for 25, 195, 2 touchdowns last week through the air, 82 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns rushing, and had the game-sealing sack late in the fourth quarter to end that ball game for them. Running back Avery Hickman, wide receiver John Mayrant, defensively Wilson Nash, the linebacker, passed 300 career tackles last week, John, for them. JoJo Krim had a big pick. Camden's a program we talk about all year long, especially in the playoffs, John. They've got guys who have been here, who know what it takes to win. They expect to win, expect to get to the state title game. They're not going to be afraid of the bright lights, even on the road. And just the way that the Coach Rimp has kind of flipped that team around this season. Middle of the year, John, they had 2 really bad losses, not because of who they were to, but just the way they played. And that was to Hartsville and Gray Collegiate. Non-competitive in both games. Both those teams, War Eagles and the Red Foxes, ran the ball down their throat, out-physical them. It felt like almost what you never see out of Camden. But they were in a tough spot. They kind of flipped it around, played good ball down the stretch, lost to Crestwood, no shame there. They've been on quite a roll in the playoffs. Big win over Dillon, of course, big win last week over Gilbert. Coach Rip has the guys believing, like you said, John. They're hot, they're on a roll. And that's why I kind of said, I think, before the playoffs started, where I feel like if they could have got by Dillon, they got a real shot to get to the state title game. And they're certainly playing good football. Brookland-Cayce, athlete, quarterback, running back, receiver, whatever you want to call him, Will
Football
Young.
player.
Yeah, Shrine Bowler, Will Young, 26 carries, 315 yards, 5 touchdowns last week. Running back Deshaun Washington, he had a slow night compared to Will. John, he only had 22 for 202 and 3 touchdowns, and he had a pick on defense. All over the field the last couple weeks for Deshaun there. Offensive line is huge. I think last week they may have thrown 3 passes, no completions. So they're a team that doesn't want to throw it, similar to BHP, and they're getting it done there. A lot of guys playing both ways you worry a little bit about at this point in the season. Javon Edwards is a great player. But the defense, man, we talked about that earlier, playing great football. 14 points to Philip Sims, a team that was averaging 40-plus 2 weeks ago. Holding Crestwood to 27. And one of those touchdowns was on a kickoff return as well. So they're playing great on that side of the ball. Coach Sharpie, like you said, John, has those guys believing in what that program, talk about flipping a switch. They were a lot of passing last year with Tanner State and a D1 quarterback. He graduates, moves on. Now they're power set, run heavy. We're going to run it down your throat. Can you stop it? Most teams have not been able to. But that Camden's going to be ready for it. They're big. They're physical. Coach Rimp has those guys ready. But I think the way that Brookland-Cayce is playing right now, man, it is hard to pick against them. They are rolling. I think that run offense, the key is going to be getting the lead because you can just continue to do that. If they fall behind, if Camden can go up early, may have to throw a little bit. Maybe that kind of gets you out of your comfort zone a little bit there. But I like the Bearcats at home in a close one. This is going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight here, I feel like.
Yeah, this is going to be, I think about all the games to see, this has got the highest potential to be the most exciting game from a competitive standpoint and from just the way the game, I think, will the environment of the game from an atmosphere perspective, from a physicality perspective, and just excitement level. I think this game is going to be really, really fun.
Yeah, got a little stat here I saw today on Twitter. I can't remember who posted it. I appreciate whoever it was. Brookland-Cayce, they're 11-2 on the year, John. 11-0 when they score first.
Okay.
So that kind of goes to that point there. If they get on the board early, they can kind of lean on you and run it at you a little bit. If they fall behind, things change a little bit there for the Bearcats. But definitely something to keep an eye on Friday night. Drill, any comments from the chat or from you on this lower state 3A matchup between Camden and Brookland-Cayce.
You know, we got some comments in the chat. I'll just get my stuff out of the way, man. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be a very physical game, like John said. It's going to be a lot of fun. If you like to see hard-nosed football, get to Fort Knox and see that one. I think BC, their momentum is unreal right now. They're playing with so much pride and confidence, and they're just so physical. Like you said, those rushing numbers are ridiculous. But I love Camden's experience. I love Grayson White. The thing that worries me with Grayson having to play both ways, and not just playing both ways, you're talking about your quarterback playing D-line, and he's going up against that offensive front, and then having to switch over and play quarterback. I think this is going to be too much for those guys. So give me BC in this one, but it's going to be a very raucous and a fun environment in Fort Knox down there in Cayce. But here's some comments.
Katrina Bearcats versus everybody. I do want to say in this ball game too, I feel like what they've done with Grayson, the little bit I've seen, it's been more about situational, like passing downs, putting rush to pasture. He may not see a lot of time at D-line this week. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
But there's not going to be any passing downs. He's going to have to play.
That's what I'm saying. Dion says BC by 14.
I like that score.
Marky says BC for real. Yeah, they're playing great, man. Great on foot advantage as well. Course is that QB he is a player. Richard says got to go with Camden. Tank says BC. Corey says good dog fight. Yes, certainly will be.
I see a cool
for sure.
Scott Smith here too.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We're easy. We'll get to that here in a little bit. So, I wanted to get to Justin. Yeah, that South Florence game. We're going to get to that one as well. If you want tickets, there is a link. I think Jeffrey put it in the comments for you to get tickets to that game. I think our very own Kevin Thomas is going to be there, so go check him out. But let's get to the next game, guys.
Our fourth CONA game of the week, a matchup that has kind of become a pretty fun rivalry the last few years here, John. 2A Upper State, Abbeville, the Panthers at 12-1, traveling to Gray Collegiate. The War Eagles at 14-3, as they had some forfeits and some reschedules earlier in the year. Abbeville last week, 16-6 over Silver Bluff, averaging 38 on offense, 14 on defense. Gray Collegiate, the game that we were at, they defeated Strom Thurmond 35-28, averaging 43 on offense, 29 on defense. The Panthers, running back Carson Norman, 2 touchdowns last week for those guys. Lewis Haddon coming on strong late in the year. It's been a big help for them, kind of opening up that offense, it feels like, there for Coach Nichols and the boys. DeMarcus Leach, heck of a playmaker for them, playing some both ways for them. Defensively, Gavin Calhoun, 11 tackles, 2 TFLs last week. Jay Harris just eating up the middle, a great D lineman there, along with AJ Speech. And then the pass defense has been lights out as well. Justin Rollinson, I think, had 7 picks regular season. Leach, I think, had 8. They're really shutting down teams both ways there. Dane Botts as well as a good-time player, big-time player for them. Gray Collegiate, quarterback Tyler Waller, really impressed with him last week, John. Didn't have the biggest passing numbers because Strom Thurmond really took away a lot of the pass, but he did a lot of things, kind of keep plays alive, not taking sacks, getting some positive yards on the ground, did a great job there, and didn't turn it over as well, which was huge. Dre Dobson, a quarterback, can come in and kind of spell him, give him another, weapon running the ball there. Running back BJ Montgomery, 192, 3 touchdowns last week. Caleb Ford can come in as well. Jamarius Lockett, Zay Alford, 2 really good receivers for them. Zay a little bit more of a smaller, shifty, quicker guy. Lockett more of a go-up-and-get-it, jump ball type guy there for them. Offensive line, JT Sowell, the App State commit, leads that group up there. Defensively, Rylan Cunningham, Michael Bulwer, 15 tackles last week. Kenny Williams, 10 tackles last week. Zeb Taylor, Blake Croft, 17 tackles, and the game-sealing pick 6 for them. Justin Pauling as well in the back end. 2 teams that are loaded, John, talent-wise, a bunch of names that we know on both sides there. It's going to be a great game. 2 years ago, we saw Gray Collegiate knock off Abbeville at Fairfield Central, I think in the 3rd round of that state title season there where the War Eagles wanted to win it. Abbeville beat them the year before. Going to be a fun matchup here, man. Who do you like between the Panthers and the War Eagles?
I think this is – I was thinking Gray would just dominate 2A. Once they got to the playoffs. Last week, watching them play, not that I think anything less of them, but it made me, because we've seen them play so few South Carolina teams, and it's just hard to judge where they fall amongst the best teams in 2A here in South Carolina. And last Friday gave me a really good indication, I feel like. And it was what I expected. I thought the best players on the field were on the Strom Thurmond sideline. But as a team, I thought Gray would be a little bit better. and they proved to be a little bit better as a team. And I think that's what we're going to see on Friday. I think Abbeville in their own right is a very, very good team. They don't have one guy that's just, their highlight. They've got a handful of guys that are really, really good players, a really good team. Playing at Heights Stadium, that's a big deal. There's a little edge to the game, right?
They're at War Eagle Stadium. They're in Columbia,
it's in
West Columbia.
Okay, I was thinking that game was going to be in Abbeville. Okay, all right. Well, that's big for Gray. Good environment. Good environment last Friday. I think Gray is just a little bit better of a team in this game too. We talked about, the Strom-Thurmond Gray game could be the state championship, and I think that still rings true. If Strom-Thurmond was playing Abbeville, I'd pick Strom-Thurmond. I think Abbeville is very, very good. I just think Gray's a little bit better as a team. I think they're just a little bit more complete. They know what it's like to whoop somebody's butt. They know how that feels. They've got that confidence in them, and they also know what it feels like to get their butt whooped. They've had that happen to them this year too. I think they've been humbled a little bit by some of that, and it's helped them learn. It's helped them grow as a team. They're very confident in themselves. They believe in themselves. They're very well coached. They've got great support. I think Gray's just a little bit better. I expect this to be a very good game, though. I don't think we're going to see a blowout. I think this is going to be a 4-quarter game. And Gray had to pick 6 to seal it Friday. Had that play not happened, that game could have potentially gone the other way. Strom-Thurmond had a lot of momentum at that point in time. If we have Friday night and we have a similar game where there is not a pick 6, what happens? I don't know. And I'm pumped that we get to find out Friday night. I think it's going to be a very close game where you and Jarrell talk about in the recap show, 1 or 2 plays, turn it one way or the other. But I like Gray by a little bit.
Another 2A game where we're going to see 2 teams that have really, I feel like, big defensive lines for that clash. And we saw one last week, Strom-Thurmond and Gray, both teams really big up front. Same thing with Abbeville this week. And that Panthers offense, man, so tough to prepare for. Coach Nichols does a phenomenal job there. And they are the class of 2A. I mean, they are the team to beat. I mean, I've got one word highlighted on my sheet here, and it says tradition. I mean, that's what Abbeville has. I mean, they expect to win. They have won so many state titles in that class. I mean, they are, the boogeyman. I mean, they are the big bad, guy on the block each and every year. It feels like they're playing great football right now. One loss to a Westside team that 4A upper state final this week. So, I mean, it's obviously a good team they lost to. They've beaten teams out of region like, Powdersville and Southside Christian, and they're playing really good football. Like I said, I think the emergence of Haddon has been big for them. Norman playing great as well as Leach and those guys. But, I mean, B.J. Montgomery and that Gray offense is tough, man. I think this is a game where, similar to Brookland-Cayce Camden, where if Abbeville can get a lead early and kind of put a little, fear in Gray Collegiate, start leaning on with that run game, Panthers can certainly win it. But I think I like what Gray Collegiate's doing, man. I think they're very versatile on offense. The defense impressed me last week. I thought they played pretty well. And, 2 super well-coached teams should be a great ball game. But I like Gray Collegiate in a close one here at home, which I think is big, not having to go over to Heights Stadium.
And Montgomery, Montgomery very good in the return game as well.
Yes.
We saw him really blaze some path on some returns last Friday too.
For sure. Drill, any comments from you or from the chat here on this 2A game? I'm sure we got some in here.
Yeah, for sure. No, I like this game a lot. It's like the new kid on the block versus the proven, like you said, tradition. There's no other word to describe, Abbeville, big Gray. Might be the last time we get to see these 2 teams meet. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But I like Gray Collegiate a little bit more in this football game. Just kind of worried about Abbeville's ability to score. I know last week they played a very, very tough Silver Bluff defense. Yeah. But only putting up 16 and getting those touchdowns late. I don't think they can afford a slow start against Gray Collegiate because Gray Collegiate can get it done on the ground and they have a quick strike with those receivers outside. So just give me Gray in that game. But we do have some comments here. We just got some emojis.
Richard says War Eagles.
For sure.
Aaron says Gray. Dion says if Abbeville gets that run game going, that's the key. Getting a lead and be able to kind of lean on them with that run game, it will be key for Abbeville.
They can do that. It's going to be bad news for Gray.
JD with the comment of the night.
Yeah, lock the doors, boys. Lock the doors this week. Great comment. Greg says, when a close one, defense makes a big play at the end. Yeah, I think if you, at this point, if you can get a turnover late, that can seal a ball game. Mitchell likes Gray Collegiate in a close one as well. Andy says should be a great ball game, taking Gray.
I don't know.
Jim
Did
says,
somebody did John? Did you call him Little Abbeville last week?
Yeah, I don't know, Jim. That didn't come from us.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't remember.
And that's all good and great. Still got to play the game.
Use it for motivation, man. I love it. Let's go to the next game, guys.
Our next CONA game of the week, the game that I'm going to be at, probably the game that I'm most excited for this year, John. Yeah, probably this whole year. Honestly, that's probably a good quote there. This year, two of the probably most dominant teams we've seen all season long, honestly, and that's for a lower state. Irmo, 13-0, traveling to South Florence, the Bruins Den. The Bruins also 13-0. Irmo, 34-7 over James Island last week, just steamrolling everyone, averaging 52 on offense, 7 on defense. South Florence, 42-22 over Lancaster, a team that was obviously red hot coming into that ball game, averaging 42 on offense, 11 on defense. Coach Brand and Coach Marlowe had these guys rolling. I think Irmo's closest game all year was a 35-21 win at Hartsville. You know, South Florence played South Point to within one score, but outside of that, big wins every single week, it feels like, John. I mean, the immovable object versus the unstoppable force, it feels like here in this one. Who do you like in this? I mean, huge matchup.
This is another scenario where I feel like we have a team that is maybe better, South Florence, but they're playing a team that is just red hot, playing really, really good football. And not that they're not good, they're great, and they're playing really, really good. I like Irmo in this game. And for the reason I like Irmo in this game, I think during the year, their offense has been pretty good. Their defense has been pretty good. And now here in the playoffs, it's like the offense is elevated a little bit and the defense is clamped down a little bit. You know, at the same time, both sides of the football have gotten better. I thought that James Island game last week was going to be, you know, a just slobber knocker, 21-14 kind of ball game. And they suffocated James Island. Their defense, and we talked about it a little bit, but we were worried about the James Island offense a little bit. And they suffocated them. And that's a really good James Island team. And then on the other end, they put up 35.
Yeah.
Who does that? Nobody's done that. I mean, it's probably been 5 or 6 games since James Island's collectively given up 35 points. I think Irmo has just got it going on both sides of football. There's no shortage of talent, especially on the offensive side for the Yellow Jackets. They've got experience as well. You talk about South Florence team, though. I saw them play Hartsville earlier in the year, and it's a testament to Coach Marlowe, the way that he coaches that team. This is another, and we say this, and everybody needs to take note because I feel like we say this every year about these teams that are playing here on Thanksgiving weekend. They play clean football. They don't turn the ball over. They don't shoot themselves in the foot. They play a really clean game. They play all phases very, very well. You could argue that the special teams is the best unit on the field for the Bruins. They're big. They're physical. Defense. They've got a great running attack with 2 kind of change of pace backs. They've got 2 guys. Now they have 3 guys apparently. Yeah. Very, very strong out of the backfield. I think when they have to throw it, I know you'll say you're worried about their passing game. I think when the Bruins have to throw it, they've just got great scheme. They have a great game plan, at least in that Hartsville game that I saw, where they just made it easy for the kids to make plays. And that's what happens when you have a team that's so well-rounded and so good. There's so much to defend. I think it's going to be an awesome ball game.
Yeah.
I see this game going either way. I think South Florence, for me, has been the number 2 team in the state all year behind Northwestern. But I think Irmo is just kind of like BC. I mean, boy, the Midlands, whatever they're doing down there in Richland and Lexington County, they're drinking the right water last few weeks because White Knoll, Irmo, Dutch Fork right now, Brookland-Cayce, boy, they can't be stopped. And I think we've got the same thing on our hands this Friday with Irmo. I think Irmo's just playing the best football right now in 4A, and I like them to win this game.
Irmo led by quarterback A.J. Brand, 150 passing and a touchdown last week, 130 rushing, 2 more touchdowns on the season, John. 59 total touchdowns, 1 interception.
That's incredible.
Unbelievable stats there for A.J. Running back Jaden Allen Hendricks had a $180 and a touchdown, 2,100 plus yards rushing this year, just a load to bring down. Wide receivers Donovan Murph, Tevlin Smith, defensively McCleary, Smith, White. A great unit on both sides of the ball there. Coach Brand said a couple weeks ago, and you got 200-plus pounders there just wearing on you. Hard for teams to, be able to sustain a full game against them. South Florence, right now, athlete Cyree Livingston out of the Wildcat, receiving, whatever you want to say, he's getting it done. $169 rushing last week, 4 total touchdowns. I think it was 3 or wait, I'm rereading. Sorry, 169, 4 total touchdowns, 3 rushing, 1 receiving last week. There we go. Running back Zion Gilbert still there. Big offensive line for them. The key for those guys, I feel like, is Rodney Lazane, the tight end. What he can do in the blocking game and the run game there, phenomenal. They're kind of setting that edge, and what he can do for Coach Marlowe's offense. He does a great job. Kind of overlooked a lot of times. Make sure you give him a shout out.
Great play.
They are working in a new quarterback, Messiah Jackson. Kind of getting his feet wet the last couple weeks for there. Defensively, so many names Amari Adams, Derek Goodman, Terrence Moore, Shantwan Harkless, Quincy Rhodes, Terry Gordon. I mean, tons of guys that have been playing for them, played ball last couple of years and made big-time plays for those guys. I will say, though, last week, Lancaster, they were hanging around in that ball game, and they found something. They ran for, I think it was 335 on the Bruins. Didn't see that coming. I think to keep yourself Florence, they're going to have to hit a couple pass plays. I mean, you got to at some point with Jackson. Maybe you find Livingston, whatever you do, need to get somebody involved there. Another key for this one, John, both teams are dangerous in the return game. Quincy Rhodes is special for South Florence. Tevlin Smith, I think, ran 2 back, a punt and a kick 2 weeks ago. Doing a great job there for that one, for the Yellow Jackets. And we talk about it, I feel like every week, South Florence, pick 6, fumble return touchdown,
kick return,
special teams touchdown, whatever it is. Irmo doesn't turn the ball over. So that may take away one of those big weapons for the Bruins. Going to be a really tight ball game there. I think 2 teams that, with the way that they've been playing, haven't really faced a ton of adversity in a ball game, I would say. Haven't really been punched in the mouth, found themselves down 7 or 14 late in the second quarter or whatever. I think this is going to be a really good ball game, really close ball game. 2 phenomenal teams, man. I have a hard time picking this one. I think with what South Florence has done last year, winning the state title, running the table again to this point this year, I think I have to pick them. But it is so hard to win 2 in a row. So hard to win 2 in a row, state titles, that is. But I like the Bruins in a close one, a dogfight at home on Friday. But that's going to be a heck of a ball game.
They deserve that endorsement for sure.
Yep. Drill, any comments from you or from the chat here on this 4 game? I know we got some folks in here talking about Irmo and South Florence.
Yeah, guys, if I didn't have family in town this week, for the holiday, I'd be driving to Florence this weekend to catch this ball game. I mean, this is going to be hard hitting, 2 of the best defenses in the state, regardless of class. Going to be a lot of fun. I got to go with South Florence, though, in this game. Nathan's comments just definitely stick with me until South Florence, until somebody beats them. I can't say that they're going to lose a football game. And that's not to say Irmo is fantastic. I do like South Florence's defense, their ability to force turnovers. And that's something Irmo obviously hasn't dealt with this year. And South Florence, when they force a turnover, they like to score. So I think they're going to be able to do that, maybe 1 or 2 times. They're going to be playing this game at home. So I like South Florence to win. But I don't see this being more than a 3 to 7 point football game.
2 really big, really physical teams. I don't think either team will be able to kind of wear the other out. I think they're both built for this type of ball game. Might get some rain in the forecast Friday as well. Could be really, really run heavy down there in Florence. But Drill,
they're built so similar. That's the crazy thing. I do like with Irmo. The thing with Irmo, like AJ Brand, that's the difference maker. South Florence is kind of rotated
a little better passing. It feels like.
Where AJ has been, steady and very phenomenal this season, under center.
Lee says Derek Goodman in the defense with the difference. Heck of a player there for sure. Tank likes Irmo. Marquis says South Florence will win. Dion says South Florence by 7. just as hadn't played a defense as good as South Florence. Yeah, I don't think either team has played a team
James
as good
Island
as they're
defense
about to play.
Pretty dang good.
Richard Weaver's taking Irmo here, it looks like in that one. Andy says South
I'm with
Florence is their pick. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a phenomenal game. Aaron says Big Irmo. Skylar says South Florence defense is different. Andrew says Irmo.
And that's all we have for the comments here.
Yeah, that will be a heck of a ball game. So once again, our CONA games of the week. Summerville at White Knoll, Belton-Honea Path at Daniel, Camden at Brookland-Cayce, Abbeville at Gray Collegiate, and Irmo at South Florence. If you guys missed us talking about that game or any of those games, feel free to go back once the show's over. You can check it out at the beginning of the show. We went through those 5 drill. Let's give a quick shout out to our friends of the program before we break down the other 5 matchups here in the upper and lower state round.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
Carolina Orthopedic and Neurosurgical Associates, CONA, offers the most advanced training and experience in orthopedic surgery, neurosurgery, sports medicine, and pain management in the upstate. 3 convenient locations in Spartanburg, Duncan, and Greenville. Go to CONA.care to learn more.
Well, John, let's take a look now, starting at the 5A bracket. The other 5A game we didn't mention. Let's break that one down here.
Yeah, it'll be Dutch Fork and JL Mann going at it. Not a matchup.
Who saw it coming?
Expected.
Who saw that coming, man? JL Mann playing great football, 21-13 over Hillcrest last week. Dutch Fork, a dominant performance over Gaffney, 35-10. Dutch Fork averaging 33 on offense, 16 on defense. JL Mann, 40 on offense, 14 on defense. 2 really teams, that are really impressive what they've done this year. Because JL Mann, you never think they're going to be at this spot. Coach Watts has done a great job there. They played Hillcrest back in week 10. It was a 42-35 matchup. Last week, 21-13, completely flipped the script, go all defense heavy in that one. Quarterback Ethan Anderson, 2 touchdowns last week. Nasias Morrison running the ball 18 for 86, 1 touchdown. Michael McClellan, 2 receiving touchdowns. Also gets it done kind of out of the Wildcat, running the ball as well. Great return man. Also, I think I called him kind of a Dante Hall earlier in the year on Rob Brown's show. A really electric playmaker there for the Patriots. Keyshawn Henderson's a big-time player for them. They did have a guy last week get ejected. Not sure what. I don't know if he's back. I don't know what the rules are with that in the playoffs. I don't know. We'll see how that works out. We'll be interested to see. Dutch Fork, like I said, dominant last week. They gave up 10 points. The only touchdown Gaffney scored was a punt block ran in for a touchdown. Nothing on offense. They had 1 field goal they made, 1 they missed. Outside of that, couldn't get anything going. Quarterback Ethan Offing played again for the Silver Foxes. Went 239 total yards, 4 touchdowns. I don't know that status of John Hunt. I don't know if he's in, he's out. I'm not sure this week for those guys. Trenton Lodge at running back. Wide receiver Jacob Hamilton defensively. He's been great all year long. Even when they're losing games, they're playing great on the side of the ball. Deion Winsley, Tyler Jones, Josh Smith, Riley Salters, Bryce Nuttall. John, just looking at it, if you look at the names, if somebody told us this matchup, back week 0, preseason, whatever, we would say Dutch Fork in a runaway, just because you look at what you expect out of Dutch Fork compared to JL Mann. But I think at this point, John, 2 teams playing great football here.
Yeah, and JL Mann's been playing really good defense. Here in the playoffs, I was very impressed. Yeah, they beat Hillcrest twice, but the fact they held them to 13, that was impressive. I thought that was, and it shows the versatility of this team. They played the same team. They went with their offense first time around. Second time around, they went with their defense.
Yeah.
That's an incredible mark of a good indication of a very good football team, right? Dutch Fork, we talked about their defense all year long. Their defense has been good. Their offense has really put it together here late in the year and then into the playoffs. And I believe this game is in
Dutch Fork. At Dutch Fork.
Dutch Fork. Yep. Okay. I think Dutch Fork, again, this is where I think they're probably the more complete team. I think JL Mann's been playing great defense here in the playoffs. I like Dutch Fork's defense a little bit better. And the fact that Dutch Fork's offense has come along. And I just think that they're a little bit better of a team. And I know that could just be me. I've been sleeping on JL Mann all year. And that could be me doing it again right here, right now. But I thought that Dutch Fork Gaffney game was going to be really, really close, really, really competitive. It wasn't. And again, this is probably bad analysis by me. If JL Mann was playing Gaffney, I'd probably take Gaffney. And Dutch Fork dominated that game. I think this game is going to be pretty close. I think it's going to be closer to that 35-10 that we saw. I think the JL defense is going to play pretty tough, but I just don't think JL and they got great quarterback play. They can score points. I say that I think Dutch Fork's better. JL when they get on the football field, they're a very well-rounded team in their own right. I'm just my gut feeling is going with Dutch Fork.
JL 11-2, Dutch Fork 8-5, and the Patriots, John. We talk about them in our preseason show early in the year, throughout the year, the offensive weapons that I mentioned. But the last 2 weeks has been the defense. You had 2 pick sixes against Spartanburg to help them win that ball game. Shut down a powerful Hillcrest team last week, held them to 13. Had some turnovers as well. Coach Watson, what he's done is just a phenomenal job. Got that program in this upper state round is super impressive for them. I just think Dutch Fork's playing great football, man. Coach Knotts and the guys are saying greatest story ever right now. The way they've had this turnaround this season. And I don't think it ends this week. They're playing too good, I think, both sides of the ball. I like the Silver Foxes to win this game, a close one at home. But, I mean, 2 teams that we didn't think would be here 5 or 6 weeks ago, probably for sure. Yeah. So great to see this matchup. But I like Dutch Fork in a close one. Drill, any comments from you or the chat on this one?
Yeah, no analysis for me. I'm just not picking against a Tom Knotts coach Dutch Fork team. That's just, it is what it is.
Who can blame you,
It's that simple. I think they're going to win the football game, but that's not to say, man, I'm rooting for the Patriots, just because of the turnaround that Coach Watson has done there, being a Greenville County school, playing in this, upper state championship is quite the accomplishment. But I think Dutch Fork wins. And a lot of
Dion says Dutch Fork big. We had a chance to interview Coach Watson last year. It's on our YouTube and Facebook page. Go check it out, guys. He was great to talk to, what he's done to kind of turn that program around. Really great interview, really smart guy, doing a great job. Yeah, Mark, he says he's defensive genius. Exactly right. He liked Jim with the upset. Richard says Dutch Fork's going to be tough. Kurt and Tony appreciate you hopping in, Kurt. Look forward to next year and following Barnwell and Cameron some more. Should be a great year. Have a great Thanksgiving and Christmas to you as well. Andrew says Dutch Fork big. Zach says, JLM at Show Patriot Football is all about. That would be a surprise, man. That would be a great win there for Coach Watson's squad.
Zach
great story on both sides, though. Dutch Fork's resiliency and JL getting back on the map.
Yeah, most definitely.
Let's look down at 4A now, John. What ball game we got there?
This is out of our games of the week. This is the biggest one that's not. Greenville Westside. Again, a couple weeks ago, not a matchup we would have expected. We've got a super talented team in Greenville with, I'd argue, the win of the year for the state last week, beating Northwestern at District 3.
Drill, any comments from you on 4A or from the chat on 4A?
If this Greenville team beats this Northwestern team, I'll eat my hat next week. So give me Northwestern.
I got to pull for Greenville now. I want to see that.
I got a lot of hats.
I will literally do it on live next week.
Huh? I didn't say. Did you say that, John?
Well, to be fair, I did say I would help because I felt that confident.
A man of his word. A man of his word. I love it.
We will sell this hat at a discount.
I should have said I would eat my boot because that's how far I put my foot in my mouth. Whoa, what a win. We talked about it Sunday night, Kev. This Greenville High team, impressive. It's 5 days later. Still can't believe it. Been getting called out on social media all week, and I absolutely love that because we talked about it, man. No one believed that Greenville was probably going to win except Greenville High alums, Greenville fans, and those guys in the locker room. They went out there and did it. And, man, I will eat all the crow. I will take all the criticism because I thought Northwestern was the best team in the state. There was no gimmicks. There was no flukes. Those guys lined up, went to D3, and just beat those guys. It wasn't an abundance of turnovers. They got the job done. Critical moment, stopped the 2-point conversion. Kudos to Greenville Senior High, man, going to upper state. I'll jump out. Had to play that clip, though, man. I had a lot of fun with that the last few days. And just all I can say is congrats to those guys.
Yeah, Greenville 10-3, Westside 12-1. They matched up back in region play. Westside defeated them 28-14 in that matchup. I don't know, John and Drill, you guys might remember, I know Mazio Bennett was injured earlier, had some concussion issues. I'm not sure if he was in that ball game or not, but that was a big win for the Rams at that point. You mentioned it last week, Greenville. goes to D3 Stadium. They beat Northwestern 42-41, averaging 37 on offense, 18 on defense. Westside, high-scoring affair here, boys. 68-53 over Midland Valley, averaging 48 on offense, 25 on defense. Last week for the Red Raiders, Majio Bennett, 3 rushing touchdowns. Katie Mosley, a big game. Quarterback Bryson Drummond, a solid game. Westside, Cutter Woods, 14 for 21, 246, 4 touchdowns. Running back Sherrod Richardson, 16 for 175, 2 TDs, and a 65-yard receiving touchdown in that game. DeMarco Evans is a good back. Receivers, the NC State commit, Jamar Boston. Josh Williams, I think, is the East Tennessee State commit. He's a good player for them. Both offenses can go. We know they can both put up points. It may come down to similar to both these games or both these teams' games last week, who can make the stop on defense? Who do you feel good about on defense, John?
Well, Greenville made a stop on a 2-point conversion to win the game. So if you want to say defense, I trust the Red Raiders a little bit more. This is so tough. This is so tough. I think Greenville's the slightly more talented team. They got literal talent on the offensive line. Talk about Maggio, of course. Good quarterback play. Great defense. I mean, they got guys. I think they got 2 guys in their defense that have had 7 takeaways each. You know, they do a great job there. Playing with a ton of confidence right now. I'm going to go with – this is another game where I'm just going to go with my gut. I don't know that we see Greenville do this 2 weeks in a row. They're good enough. They're talented enough. They got everything to do it. I just don't – I don't know. Something in me says I don't think they're going to do it 2 weeks in a row. It's crazy for me, and no offense to Westside. It's crazy to think Westside could be playing for a state championship next weekend in Orangeburg. But I think they are. I think they are. I think, you know, we talk about defense wins championships. I know that's that old adage. I think this game's going to be who can make more offensive plays. And it honestly may be who has the ball last. I think it could be one of those games where it's another track meet, 60-50 kind of game. And I like the consistency of Westside's offense a little bit more. You know, we're 2 weeks removed now. We're so enamored with the Northwestern game. We're 2 weeks removed from a 24-21 Greenville win over Greer.
Mm-hmm.
That scares me a little bit. I think Westside has been a little bit more consistent this year. And for that reason, I feel like, if nothing else, they're the safer pick in this game. But gosh, this could go anyway. I mean, I could see Greenville. I could see Greenville winning by 14. But I'm going to go Westside.
A game that it literally might be who can make a bigger defensive play. You know, Zeke Marshall for Westside's a big-time player at the secondary. He maybe gets a pick, whatever it is. And then Greenville, 2 really good DBs, Christian Henderson, Romani Burton, have multiple interceptions throughout the year. They will have their hands full with Boston and Williams by then. I know they are up for the task. You know, they had a tough task last week against that Northwestern offense with Knox and Burst and those guys. They know what it's like, and this will be another big-time ball game. You know, I really like Cutter Woods, man. He is one of the best quarterbacks I've seen in the past 4, 5, 6 years here in the state. He can sling it. Definitely a power 5 guy. Gonna, you know, already pick up some offers. Gonna get some more offers for sure down the line. But Coach Porter, what he's done with this team, well, he's got them peaking at the right time. Man, you know, they struggled. I think they were 3-3 earlier in the year. Have now won 7 in a row, I believe it was. Had some injuries, of course. We're trying to work through a couple things there. But they play that tough non-regional schedule for games like this. You know, that's why they want to be ready to get this point. And I feel like Greenville the last couple years has been to this point so many times where either it's the upper state title game, losing to South Point 2 years ago, round, I think it was 3 last year, losing at home to Northwestern. I think this is the year they make the jump. They take the step to get to that state championship game. I think Mazio Bennett, not only catching the ball, but running the ball to the Wildcat will be the difference. High scoring. I'm going to say it, high scoring, which probably just going to be like 28 or 21 because we said that, John. I like the Red Raiders. Greenville on the road. They get a little get back playing at Westside this time. I like Greenville in a close one. But I think we're seeing a lot of points on Friday night.
Should be another really, really exciting game.
Jarrell, any comments from you or from the chat on this ball game?
I would be an absolute idiot to not pick Greenville this week. So I'm going to pick them this week. I think they're going to get it done. If I were Coach Porter, not like I'm a state championship winning coach or anything, man, get in the Wildcat, like you said, run behind Blake Franks. Last week, this Westside defense got torched. Trayvon Dunbar ran for 8 touchdowns and over 300 yards against that rush defense. Just do that. Give number 3 the ball. Let him go to work. Even though you got all those weapons on that offense, let that guy go to work. But I think Greenville's going to be able to pull it off. Like you said, get back. What was this, a 28-14 game last time?
28-14. Westside
Yeah,
won the first round.
that was so crazy. I don't think we're going to get a repeat performance. I think the Red Raiders are going to get it done. Let's see. Let's look at some comments though, guys.
Westside got something special going. Yeah, they certainly do. And I will say this, Coach Lane has said it all year long. Like, he knows they're not great defensively. Like, he knows that, but he thinks that they're going to outscore everybody, and that's what they've been doing. So it's not like a shock all of a sudden, like, hey, well, we can't stop anybody. They're expecting to be in those type of ball games. So if they're in a shootout, they're okay with it. They're like, hey, let's get one stop, and we're just going to keep scoring, and we're going to outscore you. So they are certainly rolling right now. Zach says whoever scores 60 certainly could. I don't know if they'll get quite that high, but we'll see. Brill likes Greenville over Cutter and Westside Mezzi on a mission. Yeah, the South Carolina commit is playing great football right now.
I think Scott enjoyed my video clip there.
Yeah. Deion says first 56 wins.
We laugh. That could be very true, though.
Andy says he's got to go see this in person. Should be a great ballgame over in Anderson County. It certainly. And great facility at Westside, too. Going to be a great atmosphere, great crowd with 2 close region rivals playing. Andrew likes Greenville 35-28. Marquis says 199 is the final. Might break the scoreboard on Friday, huh? J.D. Patterson over under at least 100. Westside wins. Certainly could be that high. Chris says Westside's got more athletes than anybody in the state. They got a lot of playmakers, man. They certainly got a lot of playmakers.
I think Greenville would disagree with that.
Yeah, let's see here.
Slick. Lifetime Stags fan. Yeah, you've been to tons of Stag games. Can't with the records, but so many, man. Appreciate you hopping in here and joining us. Looking forward to watching your Berkeley Stags and Coach Laws continue to go in the right direction next year. He's got those guys heading in the right way for sure. So appreciate you hopping in with us, man. Appreciate you joining us, and looking forward to following that Stags program the next couple of years.
Let's move on.
Let's look now, John. We've already talked about 3A games. We've already been through those. Let's go to 2A lower state.
We've got Hampton County and Oceanside going at it. Hampton County's had a tremendous year 1 of the program. Two schools was Estill
and Wade Hampton.
And Wade Hampton combining. They've done about what I expected them to do this year. Just win.
Yeah.
Win a ton of ball games, and they've certainly done that. This Oceanside team kind of just lurking there, just knocking off people left and right as well. Oceanside just seems to have too much. I think Hampton County is great. They're another great team, but Oceanside seems a little better. They've been a lot better than just about everybody they have played this year. I think they win this game. I think it's going to be rather close, but I think Oceanside, I could see Oceanside winning by 10 or 14.
Hampton County 12-1 on the year. Oceanside Collegiate 10-2. Hampton County, big win over Andrew Jackson, 37-21 last week, averaging 36 on offense, 10 on defense. Oceanside, 43-6 over Barnwell, 31 on offense, 8 on defense. Hampton County's lone loss, John, people forget, Brookland-Cayce. That's who beat them, a team that's in the lower state 3A final here. And that was a game that Hampton County had a chance in. They certainly could have won that ball game that night. Led by Mr. Football finalist Zion Dobson, $153, 4 touchdowns last week. Kayvon Chisholm, absolute phenomenal athlete there for the Hurricanes. Quarterback Chris Terry, defensively. Mandrell Sanders is a big-time player for them as well. Oceanside Collegiate, we mentioned it a few weeks back, lost their quarterback, Edward Reidenbach, week 10 towards ACL. Senior quarterback out for the rest of the season, of course, there. They're kind of rotating a couple guys there. They're getting into some Wildcat with Will Virgilio a little bit. Last week he had 154 receiving yards, 78 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Defensive lineman / offensive line Ben Britton is a force up front for those guys. Linebacker Miles Robinson as well. You got running back Trey Brown, Tanner Swisher making plays for those guys. Wide receivers Matt Moskos and Hamilton. This is going to be a really tight ball game. We were worried about Oceanside's offense. When the quarterback went down, what have they done? Scored 40+ 3 weeks in a row now, John. I mean, it's just like, whatever. We'll just keep going. We'll just mix and match whatever we have to do. This is going to be a phenomenal ball game, a game that I think is kind of overlooked. Two teams have kind of been overlooked all year. They've been really rolling, it feels like. Coach Hanna and Coach Wilkes do a phenomenal job. We actually got an interview coming out with Coach Hanna on Thursday night, Thanksgiving night. Get your second meal there, guys. Take your nap and tune in for a Rob Hanna interview for the Hampton County head coach. Cook him up probably at 8 o'clock on Thursday. he breaks down their season in this ball game. A lot of fun to talk to him when Drill and I did that. John, who do you like in this game? Two big physical teams between the Hurricanes and Land Sharks.
I like Oceanside. I think they're just more well-rounded. Their defense has been incredible all year, especially here in the playoffs. Barnwell's the only team to score on them
in the playoffs.
So far in the playoffs. Shut out Lee Central and Woodland. Yeah, I just think Oceanside just there's more a well-rounded team in this game, and this one I actually feel pretty confident about. I think Hampton County is very good. I just think Oceanside is better, that much better.
Last year, Oceanside Collegiate played Wade Hampton in the playoffs, blew them out. I think it was 73-28, something like that. Obviously, completely different program this year with Hampton County coming together. A stat from our guys at Loco Sports. The last 8 games, Hampton County has come up with 16 interceptions.
Nice.
So they're forcing turnovers here. I wonder with the quarterback situation at Oceanside, they might not even try to throw it. They may just try to run it and just keep doing that with Virgilio, especially back there. I think the key for this one, Hampton County's offense, really good. Really big offensive line. Zion Dobson is a stud. Oceanside's defense, really good. Have stopped everybody all year long. Do a great job with Robinson and Britton and those guys. I think it comes down to the other groups. Oceanside's offense against Hampton County's defense. Who wins that matchup, I think, will be the difference there. Because I think, honestly, Oceanside's defense is probably going to do, they're going to take away Dobson. Like, that's got to be their game plan. Can they shut him down?
They got to try.
Probably not. They can't shut him down, but they'll hold him down. And can Chris Terry make enough plays on that side of the ball? We'll see. This is going to be a phenomenal game. And I really think it comes down to that other matchup, the Oceanside offense, Hampton County defense.
I agree. I totally agree.
You're leaning Oceanside. This is a tough one here, man. I'm going to go Oceanside at home. It's hard to say that because I feel like Zion Dobson is that special a player. He can win a ball game for Hampton County. But I like what Virgilio is doing. I think Coach Wilkes will have a good game plan. They can go tempo. They can slow it down, whatever they got to do. He's done a great job with the offense, kind of working what they're doing there. Two really evenly matched teams, Valley Oceanside at home in a close one here. Drew, any comments from you or from the chat on this ball game?
Yeah, we got some comments on the chat. This one's tough, man. I think they're two evenly matched teams.
Yeah.
Just to be a little bit different, I think Hampton County. We talked to Coach Hanna earlier today, and he was really juiced about this team. Mm-hmm. Again, we got to remember, this is an Estill team and Wade Hampton coming together, so there's just talent all over that Hampton County team now. I think they got enough to get it done. Oceanside, they've kind of had it easy in the playoffs. Haven't really faced a tough test, and I think Hampton County's gonna give it to them. I think it's gonna be a 7-point ball game. The Hurricanes in their inaugural season as a combined school pull off the upset there.
I like it.
But let's look at some comments here.
Dion says Hampton County by 10. Terrence says Hampton County by 14.
Oh, wow.
Terrence and Vanessa, appreciate you guys. Mitchell says got to go with OC.
I'm going to throw – I don't know if this is a slide or what. It is what
Marquis
it is.
Says Varnville S will take County with the win. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Scott says Oceanside by 7. Tay says go Rebs. Man, tough one last week, Tay, and you boys fought hard and did not give up at all. That's for sure.
Almost came back.
Terrence says you're wrong, John.
Wouldn't be the first time, and I guarantee you.
I was waiting on this comment to come up.
So Marquise, yeah. We did some regular season interviews, and the coaches were undefeated that following week. We'll say that. I will say the last 2, Philip Simmons and Strom Thurman, has not gone that way. So we'll see. We'll see. Hey, this isn't baseball. We don't have to worry too much about jinxes and all that stuff. Let's just play ball here. Kurt and Tony say Hampton County wins, have more speed.
And that's all the comments we have on this game, guys.
Perfect. Well, let's look down now, John, at 1A. If you guys missed any of our games so far on our CONA Games of the League or through 5A down to this point, you can always go back and watch it when the show gets over. We'll have kind of I'll put a timestamp in there so you know where to click. But let's break down the 1A matchups. John, you want to start upper state or lower state?
Yeah, let's go upper state first. We've got a region matchup here,
Mm-hmm.
Christchurch and St. Joseph's out of Greenville County. This could be a really competitive ball game. Could be a blowout. These two teams have been interesting how they kind of the difference they've had. I think Christchurch won the first matchup, I believe.
35-21 in week 9.
St. Joseph's has played very, very good football since then. I like Christchurch. I think they're better. They won by 2 scores. handful of weeks ago. I think Christchurch has won me over the last few weeks toward the end of the season. That in that region, it doesn't get any tougher than that as far as 1A goes. I like Christchurch to win this.
Both teams come in at 11-2. St. Joe's 27-14 over Southside Christian last week, avenging an earlier loss to those guys, averaging 37 on offense, 14 on defense. Quarterback Cade Alt doesn't have to throw it a lot. They run it a lot with Lucas Salgado, Jackson Campbell, Johnny Jaruzelski as well. Great name there. I love saying that the last week. It's been fun to say it. Johnny Jaruzelski, great player on defense especially, but also running the rock for those guys. Henry Dryden, Nathaniel Coffey on defense for Coach Goodman's team there. Christchurch 27-7 over Blackfield Hilda, averaging 41 on offense, 15 on defense. Running back Deshaun Reeder, the Northwestern commit, 13 carries, $119, 2 touchdowns last week. In the first matchup here, John, they kind of try to take away, Reeder, really stack the box and whatnot. Quarterback Tucker Hendricks went 15 for 19, 320 and 4 touchdowns. Receiver Jackson Rep, 7 for 198, 2 touchdowns the first time around. Defensively, Will Margot, Jake Good, both double-digit tackles last week. Cooper Horonchek, AC Hatfield, Patrick McMaster also leading that squad for the Cavs on defense there. You wonder if you're St. Joe's, do you stick with that game plan where you want to shut down Reeder and just make Hendricks and Rep beat you, because they certainly did the first time? How much do you change, you think? Is it obviously you tweak things here and there, but is that your main philosophy still, you think, John, or do you completely flip it maybe?
I think Reeder's still the best player on the field. So
yeah.
I think you have to. Obviously, you got to make some adjustments. You can't come out and do the exact same thing you did, or you're going to get probably run over. And I don't know. I didn't see that game. I don't know if they were just putting, 8 guys in the box and saying, hey, good luck. And they did it. Maybe you don't quite go that much of a sellout on it. But again, I think that goes to show how good Christchurch is.
Yeah.
Reeder, you definitely got to focus on. That's who they always say. You don't let the best player beat you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you just, unfortunately, if you're St. Joseph's, I think you're in the bad situation where it goes, all right, well, let's see if we can take away your best player, and if you beat us, you beat us.
Yeah.
And I think that's just why Christchurch, I think, is better. And if you're Christchurch, maybe you swing the ball out to Reeder a little bit, get him in the passing game too, and just give another dimension that St. Joseph's has to defend that maybe they're not completely prepared for, or just have the talent to be able to do. But Reeder's a big time player.
Yeah.
And I think just that alone, making St. Joseph's play different than maybe they would want to play it's a big deal. It's a big deal. I think Christchurch wins. I just think they're a little bit better. I love a Reeder. Coach
Chris Goodman has done a great job with the St. Joseph's program the last couple of weeks, turning the Knights around, where they've been on quite a run of the playoff. They beat some really good teams. They beat an HKT team that was really good all year. Knocked off number 1 Louisville 7-0 in round 2. A shocker across the state in that one. Getting some revenge, beating Southside Christian last week. But Coach Hatfield, Quinn Hatfield and Christchurch have been phenomenal all year long. And what I like about this too, John, Deshaun Reeder, pretty fresh. Didn't have to carry the ball a ton throughout the year. He didn't have a lot of carries, so he's really, kind of getting released and fresh now at this point in the season. And just the growth and maturity out of Tucker Hendricks, the quarterback that Drell and I saw back in week 0, you could tell it was his first start, but now he's playing really good football. And then Jackson Rep putting up huge numbers, big-time weapon for him outside, along with Jude Hall and some other guys. But Rep has been a playmaker. I think Reeder, too much firepower for Christchurch. I think the Cavs win this ball game by a couple scores. I think Coach Hatfield and the guys go back to a state title game next week.
I think so. And they will.
No, Drell, any comments from you in the chat right quick before we hop down?
Yeah, I'm right with you guys. I think St. Joe's, man, we got to give them credit. They probably are the hottest team, in the playoffs so far with the wins that they've been able to stack up, regardless of class. But I'm with you guys. Christchurch, that 3-headed monster on that offense, with Reeder, Rep, and Tucker Hendricks, I think they're just going to be too much and win this game by a couple scores. But in the comments here,
Deion says St. Joseph's in a blowout. Okay.
And they've been playing that good.
Scott says Christchurch by 10. Briel says Christchurch by 14+.
Yeah, that's all we have for that game. I do want to go back to Marquise. I forgot about this. We did interview, head coach at Oceanside this season as well, Chad Wilkes. So we've interviewed both, so we can't jinx both teams. So
great point, Drell.
There we go.
That's why you make the big bucks. Appreciate you.
Whatever you got to tell yourself.
Let's go to the next one, guys.
Yeah, let's look down to that lower state 1A matchup now.
We'll have another red hot team, Johnsonville, playing Bamberg-Ehrhardt. And I think the way that I look at the bracket, I think Johnsonville gets to host this game.
Nope, this is at Bamberg-Ehrhardt.
At Bamberg.
Yep.
Give me Bamberg then. If this game is in Johnsonville, I was going to take Johnsonville. Being at Bamberg, I think this is a coin flip for me. I think Johnsonville is really, really good. They have proven me wrong again, week after week. But I'm going to go down with the ship. I'm going to pick against them again. I'm going to go with Bamberg.
Johnsonville 10-2 on the year. Bamberg-Ehrhardt 12-1. The Flashes defeated Lamar 14-12 last week. Lamar, without their quarterback, Bazoom Jackson did play well, stepping in for Zori Pierce there. A game where they blocked the early extra point of Lamar. Lamar had to go for too late. They stop him. Lamar gets down kind of in scoring position late in this ball game. A couple miscues, a couple of defensive plays from Johnsonville. Have to attempt a 40-yarder. That's what Foxes do, and they miss it. So Johnsonville wins 14-12, averaging 33 on offense, 18 on defense. Quarterback Malik Shippey. I mean, I've said his name multiple times the last couple of years. A great player, phenomenal player. Quarterback for the Flashes does a great job. Really like what he does there. Running back, linebacker Neil Martin. Wide receiver, linebacker Travis Wilson. Last week had a touchdown catch and a touchdown run. Taysom Brown, head coach Ken Cribb, defending lower state champs. The Flashes are there. Bamberg-Ehrhardt on the other side, 41-6 over a good cross team. 39 on offense, 10 on defense on the season. Quarterback Chanston Crosby, a Georgia State commit. Wide receiver Isaiah Johnson, Anthony Williams. Running back Nick Folk, MJ Can. Defensively led by Folk and Lee and Williams and those guys. They have been on a mission the last few weeks. I feel like they're just playing outstanding football, blowing teams out, and just they've been on quite a roll here. One thing that worries me about Johnsonville, they lost those two early games, North Central and DeLatta. I believe Shippey was at that Latta game, so that doesn't worry me too much there. But in that Lamar game last week, both teams were a little bit sloppy. Some turnovers, some penalties, some weird stuff you can't really have happen at this point in the year. And Bamberg's playing great football. They do want to get some revenge. Last year, Johnsonville defeated them 14-7, I think round 2 or round 3 of the playoffs. The Red Raiders have played great all year. I think I want to go Bamberg-Ehrhardt here, but these are two teams that I really, really like in the 1A level. I just don't know, John. Playing at Bamberg, it's a tough environment. Tough environment there. A lot of history. It will be a great crowd on Friday night. So you're going with the Red Raiders?
I'm going to go Bamberg.
I think I am too, man. It hurts me to pick against Coach Cribb and Malik Shippey and those guys, but
it's tough.
I'm going to go Bamberg-Ehrhardt at home. A little too much offensive firepower right now. That's where I'm going to lean. Drell, who are you thinking, and what's the chat saying here?
Yeah, I think the same. I think Bamberg's kind of peaking right now. I think they're peaking at the right time, and they're playing too good of football. Red Raiders, the theme of the show tonight. I think they're going to get it done. Like you said, it's tough picking against Malik Shippey. Marquise, great point right here. I mean, he certainly is one of the most underrated players.
Stud.
I won't say quarterback. He's one of the most underrated players in the state.
Yeah.
He's just gotten it done. Flashes have had a really good resurgence. They've really bounced back. That Latta loss was ugly. Like, they got undressed in that game.
North Central was a bad loss.
Yeah, I mean, that's week 0. Maybe you got some stuff, early in the season, but that Latta loss was really bad, and they've really bounced back after that. But I think Bamberg's just too much in this one.
Dion says Bamberg in another blowout. Dexter says Bamberg by double digits. Scott says Bamberg by 13. Christchurch wins state.
Yeah, that's all the comments.
I think it's going to be hard to blow them out.
True. That performance that Johnsonville had against Lakeview 2 weeks ago, really impressive to me. A Lakeview team that was red hot. Big win over Whale Branch. Johnsonville handled them, really easily and had a nice win there for Coach Cribb's Flashes squad. Drew, let's give a quick shout out to our friends of the program. But once again, guys, if you missed any of our games, once the show's over, you can kind of go back and check it out. Our CONA games of the week, as well as the rest of the matchups. We'll kind of put some timestamps in there so you know where to go. But Drew, let's go shout out to some friends of the program here.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification required.
The George Agency has been serving the insurance needs of South Carolina for over 40 years. They're a full-line insurance agency concentrated in employee benefits and health insurance with an office in Mullins and Murrells Inlet, but they can help you all across the state. They have clients in Greer, Rock Hill, Columbia, and more, so wherever you are, they can help. Give Bradley, Wayne, Richard, and the crew a call or check them out online at thegeorgeagency.net. That's thegeorgeagency.net. Drell, let's take a look now at our Pick'em contest brought to you by Hannah Engineering. Round 3, another tough one, man. Gave me some problems for sure. I know Drell had a pretty big week, but we had a couple folks with 10. David C., Jeff T., Art B., all at the 10 spot. Huge numbers for them. A lot of folks with 9, Kyle, Tyler, Andy, Allen, DJs, a bunch of 8s in there as well. Drell 9, I had 7, John had 6. At this point in the season, guys, I mean, so many games can go either way. It's hard to pick them, but hats off to those guys. Overall leader, last year's regular season winner, Jimmy S., back in the lead in the playoffs right now with 24. Anybody's game, we got Nathan and TJ with 23. They're in second. A lot of folks 22 and 21. Anybody's ball games is coming down the stretch here. Drell with 21, me with 19, John with 11. A lot of tight matchups here. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here in this week and also in the state title round. But if you guys haven't joined that, feel free to do so. It's on all of our social media pages on our website as well. You hop in there, make your picks. We scored each week. It's a lot of fun to do. It gives you a reason to keep up with all the ball games and not just your team. So been a lot of fun to do that throughout the season. Want to shout out our playoff performers brought to you by the Georgia Agency, thegeorgiaagency.net. It's open enrollment time, guys. If you need insurance for either yourself, maybe you're a seasonal worker or whatever, check them out at georgiaagency.net. Bradley, Wayne, Richard, and the crew can help you out there. Or if you're a small business owner, need some group insurance, they can help you out with that also. A lot of great performers. That blog will probably come out tonight or first thing tomorrow, listing a ton of great performances from round 3. If you guys see a great performance this week, if you see some great stats, send it to us on Saturday or Sunday. Facebook, Twitter, email, Instagram, whatever. Love to hear it. Give these guys a shout out. We've got so much talent across the state. We want to give these guys some love and make sure we keep shouting them out and keeping kind of the spotlight shined on them as we go through. But going to be a great week of ball games here, guys. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. You get 10 phenomenal football games. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter/X, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains, MOVINCHAINS. MovinChains.com is our website. Podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Do a weekly preview show here on Tuesday nights on Facebook and YouTube. We'll be back next week previewing the state title games. Be sure to set your calendars and hop in for that. Love to have you guys talk to those matchups with us. We do our weekly recap show, comes out on Sundays on our podcast platforms. We have our Friday night spaces on Twitter/X, basically the scoreboard show. We have different players and coaches and play guys and fans hop in, talk about their game. Love to have somebody from every game hop in this week. So if you guys are at a ball game, join us on Twitter/X Friday night about 10:30, 11. Request to speak. Love to hear from you about the game that we will be at. So I know we'll be a little bit split up with the holidays this week, so we'll have a couple of different ones covered. But love to have you guys get your opinion on some other ones across the state as well. Like I said earlier, get your MTC merch. We got great hats, Richardson hats, Yupong hats, all different colorways. We got beanies, gray and black. Really good stuff for the cold weather here. mtcgear.sc@gmail.com if you want to place an order that way. You can also just DM us on Drell's eating his hat. He needs a new one for sure. You can DM us on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. It's got all of our pictures on there of those things. You can definitely see what you want. A lot of really good stuff. The holidays are coming up. Get the Movin the Chains fan in your life some gear. Really help support us and get better gear and be able to go to more games, things like that. It's really comfortable stuff, really high quality stuff. So definitely support us. We certainly would appreciate it. John, any final thoughts? Drell, any final thoughts here as we wrap up this upper state and lower state preview show?
Yeah, congrats to all the teams that have made it this far. And thank you to everybody that has hopped in and watched us all year or come in for the first time. Love to see it. Love the interaction. Makes this even more fun.
Courtney, we all took the Daniel Lions in that game. So, yes, and I will probably be in attendance for that game. So if you're there, I would love to chat with you. Appreciate you supporting the show. But, yeah, we all went for the Lions. Another thing, guys, didn't think about this. As much as it's tradition, we got to do it. What's the score? We need some score predictions. It's Clemson-Carolina week.
I'm going to say Tigers 24-21.
Ooh, 24. Not too confident with your Tigers there, John. Kevin, who you picking, your Gamecocks or your Tigers this week?
Oh, I get both now, apparently. Let me take let's see. Let's go 31.
I don't like that number.
31-27 Clemson Tigers.
Ooh.
You worried me.
31-27 Clemson Tigers.
I'm going blowout, boys. 45-7 Clemson. That get back's going to be real. It'll be a lot of
If
fun.
it's 45-7, everyone here is going to hear me from Charleston.
I love it.
Get that get back. Hey,
Yeah,
Nate Wiggins.
if you guys, Courtney,
Nate Wiggins is locking down Xavier Leggett, in case y'all are wondering. I've been seeing that stuff on social media all week.
Hey, Marion County boy.
I know he's an auctioneer. I know he's getting locked up though.
Courtney, if you missed the BHP game, this is the beginning of the show on our CONA games of the week. Like I said, guys, we're going to put in the timestamps of each game so you'll know where to go to check them out. It'll be a lot of good stuff. Anything else from you guys before we shut it down here?
No, I just want to happy holidays, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks again for tuning in. Like I said, I know I'll probably be up in 6 Mile Central. I don't know what that is this week.
Central, technically.
Yeah, wherever it is. And then Kevin's going to be in the lower part of the state visiting family. So come talk to us if you see us out.
Yeah, I'm going to be at that Irmo South Florence game. If you guys are there, definitely let me know. Love to say hello, shake your hand, and talk some ball with you. Certainly will be a lot of fun. This has been our upper and lower state preview show. Moving the Chains is always brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. For Drell Hendricks and John Epps, I'm Kevin Thomas. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and we will catch you guys soon.